Hey guys, welcome to the video and the channel. I'm a long-time Canon shooter, been shooting with Canon digital cameras for about 18 years now, so I am very familiar with the Canon system. Let me start with a little disclaimer. I am a photography enthusiast at best, not a professional. So what you will hear throughout the video are my personal thoughts, opinions on photography and camera gear. This is not a sponsored video as I am not cool enough to be sponsored by any brand. If your thoughts and opinions differ from that of mine, fantastic. Comment below and I will welcome a discussion. This video is not about Canon versus Nikon or versus any other brand out there. While I have shot primarily with Canon, I am not a fanboy. All the different manufacturers are making incredible cameras these days to help us capture the stills or videos that we're looking to capture. Whatever you are shooting, don't feel compelled to change unless there is something seriously lacking in features or lens options that is making you second guess your choices. Making YouTube videos is just an afterthought. I have plans to do more of a beginner's guide to photography series, but time is the limiting factor. If you would enjoy something like that, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you here more often. And let's begin. Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Nikon Zf in Sunset Orange. As you can see, I've added some accessories, the small rig grip, which I find extremely important because otherwise this camera in the videos online and also in photos doesn't appear to be that heavy, yet it's actually got quite a bit of heft to it. It is oddly enough, compared to my Canon R3, if I can find it, oddly enough, compared to my Canon, my Canon R3 with the 50 1.2 lens feels almost as heavy or as light as the Nikon Zf with the 40 f2 lens and the small rig grip. So the small rig grip itself definitely is not that heavy, and on paper, spec wise, the ZF body is 2/3, so 33% lighter than the Canon R3. But because the Canon's grip is a lot larger to hold, and also this makes a huge difference right here, the thumb projection right here, thumb grip area, it provides so much more support. And just the weight and the balance of the Canon R3 makes it feel a lot lighter than I guess what it really is. Whereas when I'm holding the ZF, the Nikon ZF, notice there's absolutely no thumb support here in the back, which is, I get the styling, so it's not a complaint. It's just that without that, it's very tilty. It's imagine if I didn't have the small rig being able to lock into here. It's like there's no way I can really handle the camera with just one hand. So it's very, very important to have the small rig grip, or some kind of accessory grip, whether it's small rig or somebody else. This is a pretty new release. I'm really excited to see what kind of photography you can kind of allow me to explore. It looks cool, right? There's no doubt about it. The design, the retro aspect of it, and the color makes it kind of fun. And I'm hoping and thinking that most people won't take it as seriously. It's a conversation starter, I suppose, if you want to talk about photography and fun stuff like that. But if I were to show up at a restaurant with something like this, unless you're somebody who is obsessed with cameras and camera systems, you probably wouldn't know that this the price tag of something like this, you would think that's kind of like a toy-ish camera. So if I'm taking pictures of family, friends, or the environment, chances are people probably won't overreact or feel as awkward as they would if I shown up with something like this, right? So they're both 24 megapixels. So I'm looking to do some comparison photo wise. Now it's not fair because I don't have a 40 millimeter lower end lens for my Canon systems. I do have a EF35 Prime, which I haven't used for a while, and of course I have the 50 one too. And for the for the Nikon, I have just the 40 f2. Being that ISO low light sensitivity has been so great, and this system has a built-in IBIS, which is, for the time being, at the time of recording, probably the most advanced in-body image stabilization system, or at least Nikon calls it VR, vibration reduction, where the IBIS sensor VR will actually adjust and compensate for any movement to where the AF point, the autofocus point, is. So that's really, really cool, and I'm sure more Sony and Canon and anybody else doing IBIS will eventually catch on to that. That's something that sounds like it's more of a software calculation thing, and as long as the hardware itself is processing fast enough, it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, it's, so f2, even though it's not a super wide aperture lens, I think for most applications, for especially when you're shooting with something like this camera, low light shouldn't be a problem. At least I don't see it as a problem. I'm not planning to shoot any nighttime sports. I should be able to shoot at a relatively slower shutter speed to get clear image. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what this can bring to me photography wise. My intent right now, this is my preview. I'm hoping that when you see this video, you'll just have a compilation of all these little tidbits of things I find I like to share, coming from a strictly Canon shooter. I've briefly shot with a Sony Alpha 1 for about a month and a half, if that, and it wasn't for me. Nothing wrong with the system, it's a great camera, and that 50 1.2 I think it's GM lens, ooh, that's really, really nice. But I didn't need an Alpha 1 and also an R3. You know, even though Alpha 1 does have 50 megapixels. Well, yeah, I think Alpha 1 has 50 megapixels. But I wasn't planning to use that as a sports action photography camera. And I wasn't gonna jump ship from Canon to Sony and back and forth. I think that's kind of silly. Yet I digress. So I'm very, very excited to try this out for the long term, and hopefully we'll have some fun images to be able to share with you guys, and also thoughts from, as a strictly Canon shooter, what I think about the Nikon system. And I have great respect for Nikon. I mean, there were a good 10 years where I was like, oh man, how come Nikon sensor is so much better in terms of dynamic range, and they had, at that time, much better, more consistent autofocus. It isn't until Canon went to the R system, the RF mount, the mirrorless mount with their dual pixel autofocus, where then the focus became much more consistent and superior to Nikon for the longest time. So yeah, you know, Nikon's a great brand. I hope whether it's with the ZF or the Z8, Z9, they're going to be able to make a very solid comeback, and the company can continue to prosper and be profitable, so that they can keep putting out fun products like this. It's really, really cool, by the way. Many different colors. I picked the sunset orange. I even went online and bought some generic third-party button. It's in orange as well to sort of match. It's not a perfect match in the color shade, but hell, whatever. It's close enough. Give a nice, pretty nice feel. And yeah, so we'll catch you next time with my thoughts and hopefully with some images. All right, peace.